It's time to fire this thing up.
Welcome aboard ShipShape TV Essentials. This is your port of call for the most impactful upgrades, expert advice, and hands-on solutions from seasons past. This episode is proudly brought to you by SureHold, because anything worth doing is worth doing bright. From cleaning to protecting and perfecting, SureHold has everything you need to keep your boat shining. Don't just go boating, go showboating. Now, let's hoist anchor and set a course for another exciting episode of ShipShape TV Essentials.
It's great to have you working around the boat with us. I'm John Greviskis. What I'm doing here is I'm cleaning the bilge on our 24-foot Stamis project boat with a product called Simple Green. And the reason I like this product is because it's biodegradable and environmentally friendly. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get us a nice, clean, oil-free area so we can begin the process of closing in our transom. You might remember last week when Nick and I removed the engine and outdrive in order to make room for the bracket and outboard power. Well, we're going to continue the process today by plugging in this hole. Get ready. We're about to teach you how to make your boat shipshape.
If boating's your game, then you'll agree. Shipshape is the way to be. Out on the lake or on the sea, shipshape means trouble-free. Shipshape means being neater. Shipshape makes boat work easier. Shipshape is the way to go. The ShipShape Boat Care Show.
ShipShape, America's favorite boat improvement show, is being brought to you in part by the most complete new and used boat sales, service, and brokerage facilities, Great American Marine, and by Thomas Marine Marketing, the best place on the West Coast to buy or sell your used boat, and by West Florida's newest Robalo dealer, Kenyon Powerboats, where Florida boaters shop and save. We now return to ShipShape TV.
Welcome back. I've just about finished wiping out our bilge of any grease and oil. Now, the reason we're doing this is because we're going to be laying up some fiberglass and epoxy in this area in order to close in our transom. Here's the situation. We've got a hole about 2 foot by 2 foot, and what we need to do is we need to fill it in so we can put a bracket on. Now, if we cut a plug the same size of the hole and just put it in and glassed it, we would have a problem. Over the years, some petroleum has encroached into the plywood. That's the material that the boat builder uses to make the transom, and if we glassed over it, it wouldn't stick. Also, there's no structure supporting the plug. So what we need to do instead is cut out the affected area, make a new plug out of plywood, grind down the inside of the transom at about a 45-degree angle, and insert our new plug. That way, it's never going to be able to suck through. That's pretty much what we're going to be doing. Let's have Nick start to show us how.
Well, most important thing when we're doing any grinding or cutting in jobs like this is safety. I like to use a grinding suit or a paint suit, which you can pick up at almost any paint store. I tape off the sleeves and the ankles, and the reason I do that is with all the dust, especially with old glass, getting up in there, you're really going to hit, so I want to keep it down as much as possible. Safety goggles, I use a big pair because they can cover my glasses and I can still see what I'm doing. And I like to use a dust mask. I don't want to breathe in this stuff. What we need to do is cut this inner liner out. This is the area in which we're going to be working along the transom and down. We're going to scribe this out, but I need to get this liner out of the way, so I'm going to use a die grinder and cut down along here, across and back up. I like to use some masking tape or maybe a magic marker to give me a little roadmap of where I'm going to cut, because once the dust starts going, you're not going to be able to see much of anything. Okay. I'm going to use a die grinder with a fiber cutoff wheel, a little safety guard on there. A tool like this requires a lot of air, so you want to make sure you either got a good compressor or you're at a yard that has got a lot of air.
Now, Nick, why can't we just lay our fiberglass right up to the inner liner?
Well, the pull from an inboard is going to be different from the pull on the transom of this being an outboard bracketed boat. I need to get as much tie-in from the transom to the structural part of the hull as possible, so when the outboards are pulling, we're pulling from the whole boat, not just an engine bed.
So that's why we needed to remove that inner liner.
Yeah, and get it out of the way. We're going to bond our glass all the way back in through here and get as much tie-in as possible.
Well, while you were doing that, I was digging into our transom wood, and not only does it have the petroleum in it, but I also noticed a little bit of rot. Now, the reason your transom might rot on you is you might have an old transducer or one of those old speedometers, those plastic speedometers that's broken off. A lot of guys will just take them and fill them in with putty. And in essence, what they're doing is they're just letting their transoms be exposed to the water. The original owner of this boat had a transducer here, and he did the very similar thing. He just put some putty in there, and then he bottom painted it. Now, I'm going to show you how to alleviate that. Basically, what we're going to do is we're going to grind that bottom paint off. Get a dust mask here. And I'll wear some goggles. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get this area a little smoother. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take a die grinder and we're going to dish these things out. You can see the putty that I was talking about. Then what we're going to do is we're going to drill them out, make a little hole for our new epoxy. We'll fill it in with the epoxy, and then we're going to back it with some fiberglass. Right now we need to go to break, but stick around. When we come back, Nick's going to show you how to cut the wood out of this transom.
Ship Shape TV will be right back. George Rather of Naples, Florida, asks what kind of legal hazards are associated with buying a used boat. Answer coming up from maritime attorney Gail Hawks right after these messages.
Surehold brushes are the go-to choice worldwide for quality deck brushes, featuring split-end bristles that hold more soap and water for effortless and effective cleaning, an iconic solid wood block that is exceptionally durable and long-lasting, a rubber built-in safety bumper that protects surrounding surfaces from accidental damage, corrosion-resistant fittings made from marine-grade alloys that will never rust or corrode, SureLock system compatibility for positive locking into any Surehold handle, quickly and easily change brushes while saving space and time. Each Surehold brush is proudly built in the USA to Surehold's famous quality standards. Surehold, clean and simple.
Here is today's maritime law question. What kind of legal hazards are associated with buying a used boat?
It's important to remember that a boat is a separate entity under maritime law, and she can be sued. The problem with buying a used boat is that you don't know where she's been or what she's done, and there very well may be maritime liens that have attached to her by law that are not discoverable simply by looking up the record somewhere. It's important, therefore, to get a maritime attorney who can not only ask the right questions, but who can structure a purchase agreement such that you are protected if, in fact, a lawsuit entails later on.
If you have a question for maritime attorney Gail Hawks, leave it with the ShipShape TV memo board on the World Wide Web. www.spectacular.com/ShipShape-TV. And now back to the project.
Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to cut out this area around this hole. We're going to square it off. The reason I'm going to cut this much of it out is my fear of this rotten wood down here at the bottom. I want to take it out down to the outer shell of the boat. That's where your structural strength is in the fiberglass. So we don't want to cut through that outer shell. So I'm going to set the depth of my saw blade to cut the wood and not the fiberglass here. Once I get it cut, I'll probably cut along the bottom with my die grinder again and start backing some of that wood out, seeing what kind of material we have underneath all this. Okay. Now we've got it all cut, I'll take and chisel this wood out of here so we can get a look at what we're dealing with. Got the garboard drain through bolted in, so I might as well get that out of the way.
I'm on a 1997 Grady-White 208 today at world-famous John's Pass Marina with sales manager Bill Hart, who's going to give us a guided tour of the boat.
Thank you, John. This is Grady's 20-foot entry into the boat line. It's 20 feet 4 inches long, 8'1" beam. Dry weight on just the hull is 2,650 pounds. It's a pretty beefy boat. If you go from the bow back, you notice there's seating up there. There's seating for 8 people on this boat. A nice little cuddy cabin. You can use the boat for fishing, for skiing, just for tooling around. It's a safe, easy to maintain boat.
Grady-White has a very good name in boats. What sets them apart from the rest of the pack?
That's a good question. The difference, John, is the quality of the materials that are used and the quality of workmanship. Grady has been building boats for 38 years. For an example, stainless steel right next to you there, that's 316 laboratory grade stainless. It's going to look like that in 20 years, even down to the set screws, but that's twice as expensive as normal stainless. The hull on the Grady-White is 100% hand-laid, hulls and decks. I mean, it's all woven, there's no chop used. You get a uniform structure and a stronger boat.
How many piece construction is it?
It's 3-piece construction. They have a hull, inner liner, and a deck, and they're all glassed together for strength.
They do something really unique with the design of their hull.
Yes, John, it's called the CV2 hull design. It was designed by C. Raymond Hunt & Associates exclusively for Grady. Basically what it boils down to is you start at a pretty flat 20 degrees at the transom.
Okay.
With a hard reverse chine makes the boat very stable. Each inch you go forward up the center line, the degree of dead rise rises. So when you get to where you're seated in the boat, you're over 30 degrees, which is deeper than anybody's deep be. And when you get to the bow, you're over 56 degrees.
It's really going to cut through the waves.
Cuts through the water. You don't feel the waves. They don't jar your eye teeth or hurt your back.
What kind of power comes with the 20-foot Grady?
The recommended power is anywhere between 150 and 200, depending on what you're going to use the boat for. Speed, with a 150 top speed is the low 40s. With a 200, it's pushing 50. If you're going to ski, you'd want more the 200. If you're going to load the boat up and go fishing, you probably want the 200.
You guys recommend Mercury?
We are a Mercury dealer. We recommend Mercury. And they have good warranty. They back their motors up like we back our boats up.
Tell me about John's Pass Marina. You guys have been around for a long time.
John's Pass Marina has one owner for over 30 years. She, Barbara Goss, is fair to her customers and employees. We handle quality products, and we've been dealers for Grady-White for 18 years.
Wow. Now, where are you located?
We're on the northern tip of Treasure Island, just the south of the Johns Pass Bridge, which is east of St. Petersburg in the Tampa Bay area.
Okay.
We're easy to get to by water also. We're at Marker 1 Johns Pass. Come on in Johns Pass, and we have service 6 days a week, even on Saturdays.
Tell me the different size Grady's that you guys have available.
Grady builds 17 to 30 footers.
17 to 30. What's this new Tiger Cat that I've heard so much
We
about?
just got one in. You just saw it coming in, John. That is a neat boat. It's basically got 2 CV2 hulls under it. And catamarans are notoriously more stable than monohulls and will handle rougher water better. And that is a fishing boat out there. That's designed for middle ground.
I'm hoping you can give me a ride in that one as well. We're looking at the 20-foot Grady-White today at world-famous Johns Pass Marina. Come on down and talk to Bill Hart for yourself. You'll be glad you did.
I went ahead and finished making our cuts, and I pulled off this inner layer of fiberglass skin, and it kind of tells a tale. If you look at it, you can see where the wood has gotten dark all through here. That's where the fuel's saturated in and where we've got some rot. So we definitely need to take all the wood out along the bottom, right here where it joins into the bottom of the boat. It's kind of good anyway, because we want to get that good bond from the bottom of the boat into the transom and retie everything back in. Let's take a hammer and a screwdriver here and see what some of this wood looks like inside. You can just kind of peel it away ply by ply. Look at that. I mean, that's really rotten stuff. It's even wet. We're hoping on the outsides and the top that it's still dry, because we don't want to have to change all the wood in this transom. Okay. What we have here is, see in there the fiberglass? Originally when it was built, they went ahead and put a layer of glass in between the 2 pieces of wood. And we're going to do the same thing when we bond our 2 pieces of wood together to make this plug. Let's take a look at this wood over here. Okay. See here, we're in real good shape. Got nice dry wood. So fortunately, our problem areas are regional and isolated down towards the bottom. Once I dig all this out, I'm going to take a grinder and I'm going to grind that 45-degree angle right on all on through here. Then we're going to go into our wood shop and we're going to take 2 pieces of 3/4-inch marine grade plywood and we're going to epoxy coat them and we're going to put a layer of glass in between, similar to what we have down here, and make this plug. I'll go ahead and get this measured out. We'll go into the wood shop. We'll see you guys right after break.
Here's what's coming up next on Shipshape TV. We now return to Shipshape.
Hi, I'm John Greviskis with Shipshape TV. Look at this guy and all the products he needs to maintain his boat. I guarantee you he'll be tripping over that stuff all day long. Forget that nonsense. Use what I use, the SureHold family of products, the one handle that does it all. Any one of these quality-built SureHold attachments easily locks right into place, and here's the best part. They're the best quality items money can buy. You have my word on it. Whether it's for your car, truck, RV, or boat, keep it shipshape with SureHold products. Welcome back to the show. We left off before the break with Nick getting the rest of the wood out of our transom, and we've moved indoors to Wellman Enterprises wood shop with Craig Mitchell, a master marine carpenter. Now, Craig, you know the problem. We need to make a plug for this transom. What do you recommend?
John, you have 2 1/4 inches thickness on your transom. If we take 2 pieces of 3/4 marine plywood, laminate them together, then that'll give you enough room to fill in for the fiberglass.
What do we do first?
First, we need to cut our wood.
Okay.
What we're going to do is we're going to epoxy coat these 2 sheets of wood. Craig, what kind of epoxy do you use?
West System epoxy.
Use the West System. Now, I like to use epoxies in an area like this for two reasons. The first is the epoxy saturates into the wood really well and seals everything up to prevent any air getting in there later or rotting the wood. And secondly, the epoxy has your best, what we call secondary bond to any of the existing fiberglass already in the boat. Now, when mixing your epoxy, it's important to mix it real well, to look inside at the swirls. When the swirls go away and it's clear, you're about mixed. And the other thing is, you want to scrape the sides of your buckets on the side and on the bottom. The reason we do that is when you get to the end and you're trying to squeeze out that last little bit, you want to make sure all that material has been catalyzed and properly mixed. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and coat this all the way out. Craig, do we have another brush? There you go. We want to make sure we get a full even coat all the way around. And then we're going to lay in our knitted biaxial. Now the knitted biaxial has a 45-degree knit with strands running in both directions, and then it's sewn together. And I like it because it gives you strength in all directions. Okay. Now, which side do you want to put this on, Craig?
Let's do here.
All right. Need a little more resin on that? Well, I should say epoxy. Still a resin, it's just a different base. Okay. We're going to stick these two together and clamp them. We're using these stiffener boards to ensure that we get an even pull all the way around on these clamps. Should do it.
Well, I think our plug will come out really great this way.
Yeah, no problem.
Well, that's about all the time we have for this week's show, guys. Want to make sure that you tune in next week because Nick and I are going to continue the process of plugging this transom. We're going to show you some fiberglass layup as well as some tricks with epoxy. Until next week, guys, keep your boat ship shape.
If boating's your game,
Let's make sure that we got this tightened up and everything. Yeah.
ship shape is
I think this is going to...
That guy on Tool Time?
out on the lake
Al.
or
Al.
on the sea. Ship shape
This is my assistant, John.
Nice.
Ship shape means being neater.
And get ready.
Ship shape makes the
That was
work
great, man.
easier. Ship shape.
If you have any questions for us, write them down and send them to Shipshape TV. Attention Project Director, P.O. Box 31561, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida 33420.